And finally, we found the time and the resources to get this done. Over to you.
I think it's a great opportunity to be able to convey to our viewers what we are doing and what we are focusing on, all the things that we deal with, how we can help them, etc. I think it's a great occasion.
I agree. But before we get into the nitty-gritties, I think let's just introduce ourselves, what we do and what our company does, and then take it forward, right? So hi everyone. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I hope that all of you see this, gain value from this, and please keep your comments coming in. So I'm Chetan. I'm the founder of Quoqo. I'm a lawyer by profession. It's been more than 25 years now, and I spent a lot of time in corporate and technology. And I started Quoqo with the view of making sure that organizations have access to cutting edge legal technology. Because when I started practice, apart from plain old email and Word, there was nothing else. So over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Guru Nath. I'm the CEO of this company. I've been associated with Quoqo for at least since the inception of this company. So I have, with respect to my background, I have a PhD and an MBA from IIM Bangalore. So it's a really great opportunity to be working in such a company where we are at the crossroads of technology and legal. So with that, I think let's get started.
Yeah, and I think Guru is a data scientist, leads our operations, and pretty much we work together on so many things as well. But Guru, we thought about why we wanted to start this podcast. Correct? We found that there's a lot of legal tech. People use a lot of jargon. They use AI in the middle, and there's so much tech floating around. We also wanted to sort of really make our viewers understand what is legal tech. Viewers can be in organizations, they can be in law firms, or they can be professional lawyers, or can be in functions such as procurement, operations, finance, and so on. Right? So this is one of the reasons that we wanted to start. Also, you had mentioned, Guru, that you wanted to bridge the legal complexities, right?
Yeah.
You're not a lawyer by training, but you're pretty much in the middle of legal tech, that to cutting edge legal tech. So can you just expand on what you meant by this?
So basically, legal domain has been quite archaic for quite some time. The sense that everything was pen and paper, and everything. People then moved on to Word and other technologies. But then now is the time when they need to take that leap and go to the next level, adopt all the power of the AI and all the new technologies that are coming in, so that they can cut down on their times. They can be much more efficient. Okay, so when I talk about technology and how it can be applied to legal, so I'm talking about all the associated, all the inventions or discoveries that have happened in the past so many years, and how we can apply it to the domain of legal, so that our users and the people who are actually into the contracting business or any legal applications, they will be able to achieve it in a much more efficient way.
Got it. So also just we are old birds in this domain, each of our respective domains. So I think Guru, if I remember, we started off using WordStar. It's a text-based editor.
Right.
Then people moved to WordPerfect. If you worked in law firms, it's like you basically were one of the first people to actually use tech. Email existed, but not as we know it today. And then people migrated to Word and Maximum Outlook. But now, and all of this has happened probably in the last 30 years, right? But now, you have a whole host of solutions, right? From CRM to contract management, to AI reviews, to so many things. And which also brings us to the next thing, saying, what can we expect, from this podcast? I have a bunch of ideas. Yeah, I think that'd be a good sort of like starter episode as well.
Yes.
But I think we need sort of like also. I mean, one of the things that we talked about was looking at industry trends,
Right.
look at case studies. Also educate people how different technologies can evolve or really assist them. Correct? Because legal tech has a wide range of use cases, right? From B2B to B2C to B2B2C, or all of those combinations and so on. So it's going to be so what people can expect from this podcast is like an educational series. It's also about sort of like going through various products to see how legal tech has evolved. Also, generally sort of like engaging with the audience to see how some of these things come up as well. Right? Yeah. So, Guru, we wanted to also talk about Quoqo's journey, correct?
Yes.
And how we evolved as an organization. So, for people coming into this new, Quoqo is the name of our legal tech venture. Quoqo is derived from the word status quo, and we wanted to change how businesses, individuals, professionals really utilize legal tech. Right? So that's the origin of the word Quoqo. So we are a B2B enterprise-focused company, and most of our products are consumed by enterprises. We have a whole suite of automation as well as AI products, and we will cover some of these things as we go on through the podcast as well. But since we started Quoqo, we've had a whole bunch of different people across the world, not just enterprises, utilize our products as well. So this is really what drives us, into doing all of these things. And it's a unique combination where we have, this is led by a founder who has domain expertise, and it's combined with a lot of data sciences as well, to make it a whole set of very useful products. Anything to add to that, Guru?
I think so you have pretty much covered everything. I would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
So you have tagline, right? Accelerating businesses to light speed. What do you have in mind? What do you actually do?
So basically, this came very early in the life of Quoqo. So I was demonstrating to a financial institution, saying, if they use certain document automation within their processes, they can sort of really cut down the time, correct, that they use. At the same time, they brought in a document, correct, and they asked me to sign. Literally, it was an NDA versus plus so many other things as well. It was 80 pages of signatures. So I said, if you had used a product, you could have done a one click, correct? And that's where I simply said, look, this is so slow. You wish that there could be some acceleration to light speed. So that's how the tagline actually. We decided to adopt it. And finally even register the trademark for it. But that's the origin. Yeah. That's an interesting one. But we've got just to talk on that product, group. We now have more than nearly 18 to 20 products, correct? Across a whole bunch. Plus, we have a unified platform. How do you think the tech journey has been? And at Quoqo, can you just sort of like talk about that as well?
Yeah. So when we started, I think the focus was always on using technology, in the sense that we already started adopting and using extensively the machine learning models to be incorporated into the applications. We wanted to ensure that the manual processes could be automated as much as possible, and using AI, we could extract the documents, deal with a lot of PDF documents or Word documents, etc. Extract information and give reports on a as fast as you said, rightly said, light. So that's exactly how the focus has been from the beginning. And then we, as you know, we started with our contract management system, and then we had an NDA, and then we started with so basically all the requirements that were coming were actually fed by the customers. They were always taking into consideration the requirement of customers, how we can solve their problems, etc.
Correct. And that also sort of like leads us to another thing which we face quite a bit, saying we've got a whole host of products. Most companies have one. How do you manage all of these things? I mean, this is something that you and I face every day, correct? Whether you're talking to a customer or whether you're talking to people who are interested in the company and so on. So this keeps coming up, and it's like this. Most companies or most products, especially in the legal tech space, usually have say contract management in mind,
Right.
or one singular portion of this, and that is that's sort of like viewing the world in monotone, and it's a whole hue of different things that come together. If let's take an example, correct? Let's say you're an in-house lawyer, you need to draft documents. You need to be able to sort of like collaborate with your external teams, to be your other legal teams, say law firms, on matters or other contracts. You keep getting NDAs and other things that you need to review or send out and keep track of. You also need things like contract management, where you need to set, you're working as a non-counsel means liaising with at least 10 to 12 different functions and people, just going through the workflows. You need to have a very robust system. Also, keeping track of hundreds of contracts that keep coming your way is another thing. Getting it signed is so critical, without proper signature, and also the documentary evidence as supported in different countries becomes, we face this issue, right? Where people will say, if you have a matter or contract going to before a court, is this something which is which your platform supports? Absolutely yes. So these are some of the things that come up. Apart from signing, document storage is so critical, and day to day you get hundreds of contracts to review. Correct? Let's say you're an in-house counsel, people will be after you, correct, to be able to give reviews of 50-page documents in 10 minutes time. That's the expectation, correct? You need to be able to cope up with that. Adding more people doesn't necessarily solve the problem always. And let's say you're doing let's say you're doing a M&A transaction, correct, for your company. These usually come. Let's say also if you are a transaction lawyer, you have 20 deals at any given point and that you may be working on over a 6-month period. What happens then? Correct. You have to review term sheets. You have to draft documents. You have to check for takeover code. If it's a public company, you have to do competition law reviews. So you need software to be able to sort of like guide you through all of these things. Compliance is another major thing that keeps coming up as well. Also, lawyers of all hues need to be able to track the different changes across sectors. Let's say, let's take the case of India. Let's take, for instance, FEMA, the Foreign Exchange Management Act, the RBI. Pretty sure every other day there is something new there. Just keeping track itself is a huge thing which AI can take over, right? So, and also assuming that you are an in-house counsel, you also need to keep your audience in mind. You can have people. You'll be interacting with different people within the organization.
Yeah.
There can be sales guys, there can be marketing guys. They'll ask you a bunch of questions, right? From, hey, how do I do this, to can you review documents for me to buy a house? All sorts of things come up like these, right? So, it's you need to be able to sort of like handle situations like these, and you need to be able to sort of, and you wish that there was some AI that can assist you with all of these things, that can automatically answer. Also, in the age of AI, if you're a reasonably sized organization or fast-growing organization, there are thousands of documents to keep track of, correct? And you want to be able to draft your own documents, and you should also be able to sort of, query those documents, get a response back, things like these. That means you need to have your own data sets, you need to have your own LLMs, things like these. Now, why am I being so long-winded about all of these things? Can you imagine one piece of software doing all of these things?
That's exceptional, in fact. Yeah.
And if you expect that there will be like one thing that people focus on to do this, it really is not the case. And if you look at an organization, the organizational lifeblood is contracts, correct? It's about 90% of a legal functions job in an organization. It's about reviewing contracts. Maybe 2 or 3% is litigation, 2 or 3% is regulatory matters, and the rest may be like IP. Correct. Oh, by the way, we forgot IP as well. IP is something that keeps coming up, and we also have a product in this regard. But I'm just saying that if you really look at all of these things, and that also makes us very different and very relevant, is because we have the domain expertise, right, as a company, to really understand what all things
challenges that we are facing.
Yeah, and it's an evolving landscape, isn't it?
Right.
You've handled cases. You want to talk about thousands of users and hundreds of countries that come up, correct? All of this. You want to see how complexities can come and how we've been able to successfully sort of like also suggest some of these things as well.
For example, for some of our deployments that we have done we have done the deployments for more than 30 countries, and the complexity lies in all these 30 people from 30 different countries. They come and they need to talk to each other. And they create documents that they need them to be to get signed. They want to find the documents anytime, anywhere in the world. Okay, so these are all challenges. Another thing is that there are people from different languages, different countries. So that also becomes a situation.
I think I remember many times that Guru has had to speak in French, correct? To handle several of these things as well, and I've had to support in so many other things as well. But I think language is a huge thing, isn't it? People still would like to talk to other people and get things done. Negotiations, collaboration becomes so relevant. So some of these things as well. But let's move away from from say Quoqo and all of these things to what are the latest trends in AI that you see, Guru? You and I discuss this pretty much very on a daily basis.
Right.
Seeing what do you think? What are you seeing which is most interesting?
So if you look at the requirements of customers, in this field, what we deal with a lot of documents, and now these documents you need some place to store them, right? And from time to time, you want to just be able to search and bring up a particular document.
Hold on to that thought. You've got NAS devices or storage or cloud. To do all of these things, right? Isn't that sufficient to do, to basically store documents?
So the problem with that, Chetan, is, let us say you're a big company, you're dealing with multiple customers and different types of contracts get signed. And you want to store them the typical way that we do in our Windows machines or Macs, etc.
If you're someone like me, always goes to Outlook or some whatever program that you're doing.
Nowadays we use extensively cloud on OneDrive or Google Drive, etc. The problem is you want to get one document and it takes you half an hour or 1 hour to even just search and find it. Then that 1 hour or half an hour is basically the time that you want to spend much more productively.
Does it really take that much time?
Sometimes it's very difficult to find documents. You might even not be able to find it, in a day or a couple of days, or you might just lose track of where the document was, and you just keep searching. It happened to me multiple times. So one of the products that we have, it actually solves that problem. So we use AI to index the documents. We ensure that all the documents have we can search through the documents using advanced search options, different types of searches.
You're talking about legacy, right? Which has
exactly
7 different kinds of semantic searches, and things like that, correct?
Yes. So this is just one example of one particular use case. Now let us say the users want to create documents the way they always have created. For example, I've been in this company, or a team of lawyers has been in this company for more than 2 decades or 3 decades. Now they have a certain style of writing documents or agreements, and these agreements or contract documents. So if new blood comes, right, you want to be able to carry out that style of writing the contracts, which is not possible because you need to have the transition and you need to guide them, be behind them for a very long time.
But why can't you just use ChatGPT to draft out documents? Because
So-
that's what people always ask us, right? Saying, now ChatGPT is there, why do I need? I mean, is there anything more beneficial than ChatGPT? And what do you think?
Yeah, basically, if you look at ChatGPT, it is trained on open source data, in the sense that the documents that have been created by different people, different locations in the world, etc. If you create a document using ChatGPT, it gives you a generic document that might have the required features, and you need to requery and query, etc. to get all the clauses in the document. But what I'm talking about is a certain style of writing that you want to adopt, because this has been a brand, or this is the way that we always have used the language. Particularly, the lawyers want to use a certain language to create documents. So you can basically create models using AI today that can mimic your style of creating documents, that can basically continue the style or the brand, or the particular extra thing that you have in your company. When you create new documents using
Basically, your company's secret mojo is something that you can sort of use.
That's exactly the thing.
Got it. Understood.
Yeah, if you want to look at another use case, it is very powerful and very sort out today. Is that you want to be able to talk to your documents, right? So you have a storage of 10,000 documents. Now you want to find out when a particular document is created, when it is going to expire, etc. Now, if you want to go back, or even, for example, with the senior people moving out of the company and newer blood entering into the company, you don't have a history of the documents.
It's a bit spooky as well when you think about it. You can today, and what Guru is talking about is maintaining the history and the legacy of why and what happened during a company's lifetime,
Exactly.
And why some certain decisions, because we face this all the time, and especially in countries across the globe, especially with customers, right? There's always I think it's a time of transition as well, where one generation is taking over the other generation and so on, and there is so much information that needs to be transferred, correct? And especially in place like legal, it becomes even more difficult. And I tell you why. Because if you have been a member of an institution for a very long period of time, you have institutional memory, okay? And as to what happened during certain times, contracts, events, and so on. Let's say now you have the technology to be able to sort of like keep track of all of these things, but still, let's say some newer people come in an organization, and people come and perhaps people leave as well. There is no continuity in an organization, so we often encounter people who have been there for literally decades, correct? And there are people who come in and leave an organization within 1 to 3 years or 4 years. What happens during that time if you don't use technology, correct? One, institutional memory is destroyed, which is very difficult for an enterprise to recover from, correct? Secondly, to keep track of what's happening generally within the company, what were the discussions, things like these. Today's technology, especially when you use custom LLMs and things like that, really are able to solve or bridge this gap. Right. I mean, let's not get into a very technical discussion on how some of these things are achieved, but perhaps for another podcast. But make the point saying that if you want to maintain institutional memory, I think this AI is one of the this type of AI is very interesting. Correct. I mean, you listed out quite a few things. You maintain semantic searches and repositories. Then you talked of intelligent drafting using custom LLMs. Then you talked of maintaining custom data sets and custom LLMs in the context of institutional history and memory. So there are many use cases like these, and these are all difficult. I mean, even from an engineering standpoint, correct? I mean, we've encountered so many issues which we have been able to sort of like surpass, right? It's not as simple as oh, I'm going to upload something to ChatGPT and then it will tell me. It's a lot more than that. And when at least we've been able to sort of like build out and overcome certain critical engineering problems that way. But that's for another day. But these are, I mean, if you ask me, the latest thing which has actually sort of like, which a lot of people find very fascinating is the auto redlining feature. If you are a lawyer and you have some comments coming in, and there are some plugins which will auto review and auto redline a document. In reality, from an engineering perspective, it's not difficult, to do some of these things. One of the things is, once again, you need to be able to use it with your own data to make sense. Correct? If you use public LLM, or even a noted LLM, say 7 or 8 billion parameters, and then try and use it against your company's data, you might not always get the same results. It might, let's say you have some custom playbooks, but you've always drafted agreements in a particular manner. Now, these are different from an engineering standpoint. These need to be hooked up in certain ways to be able to achieve the exact result that you are looking for. But it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of people, what they do is they hook up to Word SDKs and then Microsoft Word SDKs and hook it up with the redlining feature with the ChatGPT option. But that really doesn't necessarily always solve the problem. Correct? It just, in fact, just exacerbates the problem. Correct? So, and after a while, you're going to go back and edit it yourself and things like that. I think there is a level, depending on whether you're a legal professional or whether you are, you're in a different function, but looking at legal, some of these things should not be recommended as well, isn't it? Maybe great, but if you think about it, if you use some, public LLM with the redlining feature in Word in a law firm, question then becomes: is the law firm actually sort of who is the person who's commenting on this essentially? And there are there are certain bar associations that have taken certain views in this regard as well. But yes, it can be achieved and things like that. But this for me is both fascinating and worrying at the same time. I'm just wearing my lawyer's hat in some of these things as well. But I think we've talked about this quite extensively. Also, just to recap on all the things that we talked about why we started the podcast. We talked about the company, how it came about, and what it's what we're doing, the different products that are there, how they impact the customers that we service, and what their outlook is. We also talked about trends in AI, isn't it? The fascinating things that both of us liked, or in my case, also didn't like. So these are some of the things. But what can we expect, Guru, in the next podcast? What do you think?
I think let's make it much more interesting. Let's have we have planned more some eminent people coming from different industries who can talk and share their experiences in the space of legal tech, etc.
Yeah.
So I think those are some of the sessions we're going to have in the next few weeks.
Okay, so stay tuned, viewers, and look forward to some very exciting sessions. And thank you for your time and your audience.
Thank you.